Hi, friends, and welcome. Thank you for joining us on Navigating the Now. Here, two friends navigate life's challenges and complexities as Christian women, mothers, and wives. So come sit with us. We hope you enjoy today's episode.
Hello, everyone. Thanks again for tuning in. I'm Michaela, and I'm here with my friend Christine. And in today's episode, we're going to be talking about social media, but more specifically, how social media affects, how what we do on social media affects our kids now and can affect our kids in the future. And just kind of what that looks like, how to set parameters on technology and social media for your kids' presence on there, even if they're not on there themselves yet. So, as we dive into this topic, let's first talk about what purposes we use as adults for social media. Some people use it for different things like to stay in touch, or some people even use it as for something as like a distraction to escape reality. So Christy, what do you see, or what do you yourself use social media for?
Yeah, often I use social media to keep up with family and friends, just kind of keep an eye on what everybody's doing, especially because, I grew up in Florida and then kind of moved all around, picked up different friends in different places. So it's just really nice to see where everybody's at, how everybody's doing. So yeah, kind of to keep up with everybody. I actually use Facebook Marketplace a lot. That's kind of my go-to.
That's a great thing.
Marketplace is an awesome invention. I really like that. Honestly, like Facebook's kind of the only social media thing that I use. I feel kind of lame saying that, but
not at all.
yeah. I don't know. I just couldn't get into like Instagram and Twitter and all that other stuff.
Yeah.
I know you're on Facebook. Do you have, what kind of stuff are you into?
So I have Facebook and Instagram. I used to have Snapchat for a long time, and then I don't have anymore because I thought it was really silly that you could like have an entire text conversation with someone on Snapchat and it like disappear in 10 seconds. And then I'm like, wait, what did they say?
Right. Yeah, that was so frustrating.
Yes. So I do not have a Snapchat. But yeah, I mean, I've had Facebook for probably close to, I don't know, like probably almost 15 years now, which is crazy to think about.
That is a crazy amount of time.
Yeah, like it's so weird how much has happened in the last like 15 years technology wise.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, my favorite thing is like Facebook memories, when you pop up stuff from like 10 years ago. I half the time I'm like, I don't even know who that person is. Making that status. No wonder I didn't have any friends, man.
Sometimes like I have a love-hate relationship with the memories. Sometimes they're really cool and I'm like, oh yeah, that was such a fun time. And other times I'm like, what in the heck was I talking about?
Right.
Yeah. But yeah, like you, I almost like, especially now having Sam, I have it worn out because other people want to keep up with us. Like, and I mean that in the absolute most humblest way. But like you, like we have family in different parts of the state or even in different states. And, I get compliments all the time. They're like, oh, I love seeing pictures of your boy and like stuff like that. And it's just, I don't know, sometimes it's just so much easier to use that as a way to keep others updated and like watching their friend, their grandson, their nephew, whatever the relationship is, grow without having to call a whole bunch of different people and talk about the same thing 100 times.
Right. Yeah, for sure.
Yeah. So how do you think in terms of that, sharing, pictures of your kids on social media, do you think that should be that should be in moderation, both for us and for other people, like in terms of other people sharing pictures of your children on social media?
I think so. I I try not to share. I don't know if trying not to share. I tend to not share a whole lot of pictures just because I like to be a little bit more private with my personal life. I
Mm-hmm.
share like mostly funny memes and sarcastic, stupid, nerdy stuff.
Yeah.
But yeah, when it comes to like my kids, I don't know. I feel like I want to keep a little privacy around that
Mm-hmm.
area. Because I guess I'm just a little bit protective. Um,
Yeah.
and it's not that I look on my friends list and I per se hate anybody on there or think that they mean harm, but it's just you never know. You never really know. Um, Plus, I don't know what kind of pictures that's my kids might be embarrassed about when they have
Mm-hmm.
social media 10-15 years from now, whenever that would be. I could think of all the times that my parents pulled up my baby pictures and showed other people. And my reaction was always like, Mom, Dad, why are you showing that? You
Yeah.
know, and our lives these days are so much online.
Mm-hmm.
Obviously you have control over how much you share, but we're online way more than we ever were before.
Yeah.
So like while they are my kids to share, they're
Mm-hmm.
also their own people. And I would hate to overshare and them grow up one day and look at my timeline and be like, wow, Mom, you really shared all these pictures of me.
Yeah.
Maybe they care, maybe they don't, but in the chance that they do care, I would hate to have
Mm-hmm.
done that.
Yeah. That's a great point that it's like they're our kids and they're other things to other members of our family and to our friends, but they're also their own person. That's a really great thing to remember for sure. Um, yeah, because it's like when your kids, like when they get to the age where they can have social media, you know, I'm so afraid that like they're going to get on there on this thing that they were never allowed to be on before and see that their whole lives up to that point has been on there all along, whether they wanted it to be or not. Like that's the
Mm-hmm.
thing that really like I'm wrestling with is that like when Sam grows up and he gets social media and he sees pictures shared on social media, it's like I took away his choice in whether or not he wanted those on there. You know what I mean? Like, and
Yeah.
that's not to say like I should wait until that point to share things because like we talked about their benefits, we have our reasons that we want to share.
Mm-hmm.
um but yeah, it definitely makes me second guess when I share or post something like how would this affect him, how would he feel about this later down the road.
Absolutely.
So yeah, on that note of thinking about, I've heard the word sharenting.
Sharenting.
Yes.
Sharenting. Do tell.
Where
What is sharenting?
yeah, so basically, I mean, it's what it sounds like. It's as a parent, you're just like constantly all the time sharing pictures of your kids, videos of your kids on social media. Like, I think in my mind, when I think of the word sharenting, I'm like, okay, that's a parent who takes like 1,000 pictures at one time and then spends like the next hour looking at all of them, like picking out the best ones to share, all the while your kid is like sitting right there in front of you and you're missing out on
Mm,
time with your
yeah.
kid. Like that is something that I think is going to have a long lasting impact on our kids if
Yeah.
they're just like we're paparazzi for 5 minutes and then on our phone for an hour.
Yeah. Yeah. It's kind of a, double-edged sword having a camera in your hand all the time. You do have the ability to record everything that happens, but are you living in the moment? You know,
Yeah.
I fall into that trap a lot. Um, yeah, just trying to get the perfect angle, trying to get the perfect smile, trying to time the picture just right. And all
Yeah.
this whole time you're missing the thing that's happening right in front of you.
Yeah.
Um, Yeah.
And that's
I
nothing new. Like ever since the camera was invented, there's always been that desire to have, that more, formal, put together family picture. And we still do that today, whether it's, like for Easter or Christmas cards or, what have you. But we've
mhm.
just, I think, taken it to the next level. And it's just like, okay, let me take 1,000 pictures and pick the best one to share for whatever reasons.
Yeah. And when we share the best one and you're only ever sharing the best one, like that, we obviously, have a desire, and it's not wrong to want to put the best foot forward and to show everybody
Mhm.
the best that we have. But on the flip side of that, when you're the other person looking at all the perfect things, then it's like, oh wow, their life is so perfect because all they see is
Yeah.
the perfectly curated pictures. And like on my side of things, like I tend to have fall into a trap of like comparison when I'm
Yeah.
on Facebook a lot. It's kind of hard
Mhm.
to remember sometimes. Like, oh, it's very intentional what we put up there.
Yeah.
So,
Yeah. I've heard some women even today, they'll talk about how, like, when they had kids like 20, 30 years ago, it was easier than what it is now, because now it's just like there's so much information out there about what you could be doing or what you're doing wrong. There's so much presence on social media that calls for that sense of comparison or envy or um, what have you. Like, it can really do a number on your self confidence when you're constantly comparing yourself, like at your worst moments, to everyone else's best moments, because that's all
mhm.
that you see.
I found myself having to intentionally take breaks like from Facebook,
Mhm.
just checking the option to not remember my password or whatever whenever I sign in, and like delete it out of my favorites so that if I wanted to go to Facebook, I have to go through more trouble than my lazy self is willing to go through,
Yeah,
just to
that's a
kind
great idea, actually, about the password
of
remembering. I never
I
thought about that.
it is the only way that to keep me off of it sometimes. I hate to say it, but it's true. But yeah, like I'll go through purging periods
Mhm.
like that just to kind of reset everything and get things back into perspective, because yeah, it's a deadly and very easy trap to fall into, for sure. For sure.
Yeah, and it's like we can, over time, as we explore it more, like for ourselves, we can find our own reasonings for why we share and why we post pictures and videos. And I do feel like a lot of it is so, like, it has such good intentions behind it, but it's hard to gauge that of someone else. You know what I mean?
Hmm.
Like other people sharing pictures of your kids and things like that. Like, I don't know. Like, as a parent, you have control over pretty much everything of your kid's life
Hmm.
except for social media. Like, at least that's what it feels like. Have you experienced
Yeah.
any of that?
Yeah. So, like you and me are at an event together. We bring our kids. I take a picture of us or whatever that Sam happens to be in. And I
Hmm.
think it's like, oh, this is a really good picture. I want to post it to my page or whatever. Um, I would think that since it includes your kid, I should
Hmm.
probably get your permission to post that picture. Because I know
Yeah.
it's a shared event. Obviously you and I had a great time, but your child is in there.
Right. Hmm.
So yeah.
Yeah. And I think that's a very new idea of asking permission to share a picture. But it's like, it's funny because, like, we joked about it when we started college and we signed that matriculation book. We didn't realize that we were also signing like rights for them to use our pictures for like marketing stuff.
We did? That was a thing?
Yes.
I
That
do
was
not
like
remember this. I have zero
that,
recollection of this.
yes, that was like a form of a contract, like agreeing to, like, yeah, okay, I'm going here. You can use my face, like,
Oh
for
my
pictures.
gosh. And again,
Yeah,
I don't
because
remember a whole lot from that day. That there's that too. That
right.
was a long day.
Right. Yeah. Cause I didn't find this out until later when I worked in the marketing department for a while, because they would have to get certain people to follow the kids who like didn't agree to that, to make
Mhm.
sure they didn't show up any pictures.
Oh, wow. I really
Yeah.
took that seriously.
Yeah. I don't like, I really think it was just like, it wasn't very many by any means, but it was still there. But
Yeah.
I think, I mean, social media, we were talking about even just like the last 10 or 15 years has come such a long way. So to ask questions like that of, hey, can I share this picture that you or your kids are in? It might be a new concept, but like so much about social media is new. And so just because it's new, I don't think it's a bad thing by any means.
Yeah. No, and I mean, it's like for me, I think it'd be kind of awkward, to at least initially to ask somebody like, "Hey, can I post this picture with your kid in it?" Because I don't think that that's something that people would normally ask. But I mean, just
Mhm.
as social media has become an integral part of our lives, there's no reason why asking that kind of a question couldn't be normalized. That probably should be normalized, really. If you can, if if a college has to follow a bunch of kids around that didn't consent to having their picture taken, how much more
Yeah.
than for your child? I think you would have every right to expect somebody to ask you permission to post pictures of your child.
Yeah. Yeah. And I think too, like 9 times out of 10, like whoever you would ask permission would probably not say no. You know what I
Yeah.
mean? They probably would just like appreciate that you asked. Like it's almost like if you ask someone if you can pray for them, like it
Mm,
might make it a little bit awkward, but like 9 times out of 10, they're not going to say no. Like even if they don't share the same religion, even if they don't have any faith in anything, like they're almost never going to say no.
yeah. Yeah, it's a really good point. I had never thought of it that way.
So how I haven't really thought about this a whole lot because Sam is still really young. But have you, so Bailey, she's 4 now, right?
She will be her next birthday, yeah.
Okay. So have y'all thought about like it's still way down the road, like when you would allow her to have social media and like because there's like there's privacy settings on there too where you can still have a lot of like control over that. But have y'all thought about like what age you think that would be appropriate?
Yeah, we haven't had a conversation about it because, like you said, like that's way down the road.
Yeah.
But I mean, I'm trying to remember how old I was when I got Facebook. I think I was, how old was I? I think I was 15, 16, something like
Mhm.
that. But
Yeah. But also like in our case, like we didn't get social media at an earlier age because it didn't exist yet.
right. Yeah. Yeah. And I don't think I would let her have it until she was 15 or 16.
Mhm.
Um, because first of all, there's some weird freaks out there. And
Yes.
I don't know, I would try my best to monitor her social media activity and
Mhm.
of course monitor anything that she does online. But aside from that, we were talking earlier about the whole comparison, the trap of
Mhm.
even us as adults comparing ourselves to another, and how awful of an experience that can be, how deep the rabbit trails, of comparison you can go down
Mhm.
at such a young age. I don't want her to go down those paths. And at
Mhm.
some point, that's a conversation we would need to have. Absolutely. But I think there's value in preserving innocence,
Oh yeah.
as long as practical, as long as possible.
Mhm.
Um, so, yeah, I mean, it'd be, obviously she's just like a little, 3-year-old right now. I don't know what kind of a
Mhm.
person she is. Um, but yeah, it'd be a combination of seeing who she is as a person, what her personality is like, what her maturity level is.
Mhm.
But yeah, I probably wouldn't let her have it until she was at least like 15, I would say. I don't know. Have you and
Yeah.
John? talked about that at all?
We haven't, but we have seen like other kids like within our church that are like middle school age with social media accounts. And I wouldn't say anything along the lines of like, that's a bad parenting decision by any means. Like if they, if people think their kids are ready for social media, like you said, mature enough, then by all means, like that can also be used as a form of trust. Like that you trust, you're showing your kids, you're rewarding them and showing them how much you trust them. Um, but you're right about, I like what you said, like kids are already so vulnerable at a young age, like very
Mm-hmm.
easily influenced. Like they're like little sponges. Like they're already getting so many things from so many directions. I feel like getting that from social media would just be too much, like too
Yeah.
overwhelming. Like I
Yeah.
see younger girls in particular who, you know, taking selfies all the time and all these things like, and I just can't help but think, like I just worry. Like, man, I'm so glad I'm not a kid like today.
Yeah. Yeah. Even, knocking on 30's door over here, still just trying to come to grips with, how to approach social media and having to make a very intentional effort to not fall into the comparison trap and, all that stuff. And then I remember myself as a teenager after first getting Facebook, just how much I relied on it to be, how do I say this, to be like my social eyes and ears. Because I was a very shy and
Mm-hmm.
quiet kid. I am still very shy and quiet, but I
Mm-hmm.
would like watch the profiles of other people instead of just like talking to them,
Mm-hmm.
and getting to know them. And I would get a cheaper, less fulfilling sense of friendship and closeness to people who didn't even know that I wanted to interact with them,
Mm-hmm.
So like even from a socialization standpoint, like if you have a like my kind of personality where you like to kind of stay back and aren't that outgoing, it can be easy to be satisfied with a cheaper, false sense of friendship.
Mm-hmm.
And if she has the kind of personality that I do, I would like to see her reach out in person more and develop those skills before relying on social media to fulfill a need that can really only be fulfilled with person to person contact, true friendships. So,
Yeah. And the Lord made us that way. Like he made us for connection, for human connection with others. And it's so easy to hide behind that wall of social media, for whatever reason, like to avoid growing close relationships, to avoid like getting hurt, just to like, and just for convenience sake, like
mhm,
you have to be, to grow your relationships, like either with your family or your friends, like you have to be intentional
yeah,
to to drift in your relationships. Like, do you know what you have to do to drift? Absolutely nothing.
right.
Like it will just happen.
Yeah, I did not realize until, we graduated and, went to live on our lives and moved to different states. I didn't realize just how easy it was to grow apart. And, obviously we're still friends and everything, but that closeness, that intimacy, that relationship is not the same if you don't give it the same attention,
Mm-hmm.
you know.
So we kind of talked about how when you and I like were growing up and like our ages when we had social media versus the kids today, it's different because it's evolving. Like I mean, by the time our kids are old enough to have social media, it'll probably look way different than it does now. Um, but I try to put myself in my kids' shoes. Like, okay, if I were them, like, would I do this differently? but it's hard. Like, it's really hard to understand what that would even look like. Cause I'm wondering, like, do you think by the time that our kids get to that age, that having a lot of their lives already in social media is just going to be the new normal?
I mean, probably. I think that's inevitable. Um, the fact that everybody's lives is as accessible as you want it to be, and that's how it is now,
Mm-hmm.
and we're not going back. It's
Mm,
that is normal. So
yeah.
yeah, for sure, that's going to be something that they're going to have to contend with, and I hope that at that point I'm able to take the knowledge that I know, or the things that I know now about comparison and true
Mm-hmm.
social interaction.
Mm-hmm.
And I hope that I'd be able to impart those lessons to them so that they cannot fall into the same traps that I have and still honestly do.
Yeah. Yeah. And man, it like puts so much pressure on me as a mom, but like I feel like the best way we could do this is like just by example. Like I feel like before I would give Sam access to social media, I would hope leading up to that point that I would have like shared like my like experience or like my Facebook page with him, like
Mhm.
sit down and like look and oh, we can watch funny videos or like, oh, look what grandma and grandma are up to,
Yeah.
like so it's not new when
Mhm.
it comes, but it's just like I said before, like it's kind of like a trust building tool. And that way, when they start to understand what it is, like its presence, the effects it can have, both good and negative. Um, like I would love at that point to not have to make the decision anymore and just ask him, hey, can I share this picture of you? Like in
Yeah.
a very like parental authority way where like, okay, the decision is ultimately up to me, but like I don't have to just do whatever I want as a parent, and I can take my kids' thoughts and feelings and opinions into account.
Absolutely. Yeah, I mean, I think um any person would want to be respected in that way. I think it would mean the world to our children if they know that, yes, we have the ability to do what we want because we're mom and dad,
Mhm.
but we do respect your comfort zones, your boundaries, um, and respect's a two-way street, right?
Yeah,
So,
for sure. Yeah, well, I don't think we have any right or wrong answers about this. I think it's definitely something everyone has to figure out for themselves.
yeah.
But I think we hit on some great stuff, and I hope that we can, in a few years from now, look back on this and see if we have done what we said or if our goals have changed.
Oh, yeah. We are living it. That's the whole point of
Yes,
this, right? We're
we are
living
in it.
it.
Yeah. Well, thanks everyone for joining us. We'd love to hear what you think, or if you have any suggestions. If your parents farther down the road than we are, and you've tried different things, feel free to tell us what worked and what didn't work.
Thank you for listening to today's episode. If you would like to share your thoughts, please visit our website at www.navigatingthenow.show. Until then, we'll see you next time.